Welcome. I'm Debbie Rosas, and you are listening to Get In. It's a podcast, about getting into your body and getting into your life. There's nothing off topic here. My work, Nia, has been changing people's lives since, catch this, here we go, 1983. When I took off my shoes and I was looking for a new way to move that addressed my whole body, mind, emotion, spirit. I wanted something that felt good. And I knew that the shoes that was wearing was cutting me off from this gift of sensing my body moving. Our topic today is about the body. It's about life in a body, but it's about relating to the body in a very, very different way. I'm not going to tell you what that way is because I'm going to let my guest, Gil Hedley, who is a master somanaut, we'll discuss what that means in a moment with you. Gil has been an avid student of life, personal and professional. To Gil, there's absolutely no separation. It kind of goes what he thinks about the human body. You have to cut things apart because there is no separation. What makes Gil unique, first of all, to me, is he's a poet. He's he's hot, he's sexy, he's smart. He's got all those things that I love. And one of the things that I really, really love about him is his knowledge that comes from his journey at the Divinity School at the University of Chicago. Really diving into spirituality and religion, what's it all about, Alfie kind of thing. He has a he has studied for his PhD as well, theological ethics, and during that time he got certified as a rolfer. So everything about Gil is hands-on. Now, not just these hands, but his eyes, his heart, his brain, everything, reaching out and being so present to what's in front of him that you feel when you're in his presence that there's no one else. That's a beautiful, intimate connection that he shares with his hands on human dissection workshops in a laboratory. I got to tell you, I've been blessed to be in his presence in the laboratory. It's on my Christmas list every year. My husband says, "What do you want?" I want the Gil Hedley dissection course. He's been teaching that course since 1995, and it is not just about dissection, but it's the way he invites everyone, people that have no medical or physical body experience at all, as well as people that are so knowledgeable and gifted in all kinds of medical and health industries to explore the gift. He talks about it as a gift, the gift of the human body. If you are into learning on your own and you're going, where can I go? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. You can first out check him out a little bit on his YouTube channel, Somanaut, which is really fun. But he's a producer of the Integral Anatomy series, um, Anatomy from A to Z. This is the first time I ever heard about Gil. I was at a training with Sue Hitzman Melt, and she had these little videos. I bought all of them. I went home and I was floored. I sobbed as I watched each one. Recently, he has produced something called the Nerve Project. Wow. Around the United States traveling. If you have not had the opportunity, you can still check it out. He is based at the Institute for Anatomical Research. He moved to be there. It's in Colorado Springs, where he also teaches. It's where he does his filming. He serves on the board. His personal work makes any presentation, any online program, what I said before that word intimacy. He has thousands of fellow Somanauts. I'm a Somanaut. I'm proud to say it. I'm Debbie Rosas. I'm a Somanaut. And to appreciate and explore and embody the wonders of the human form, there is no one better. Later, I'll tell you how you can get in touch with all of his material. Welcome, Gil. I am so happy that you said yes.
Oh my goodness, Debbie, that was a spectacularly generous introduction. Now, how do I ever live up to that? Wish me luck. It is a pleasure, and I'm grateful for your company, your friendship, uh, your Somanaut hood, and whatever other hoods you have.
You know, I really want to start back for you. I always have to ask this question. Was there a moment as a child where you got a little nudge, a little spark, a little lightning bolt where you went, I am going to do something extraordinary. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be special. And you couldn't even name it?
I have been, yeah, kind of mission oriented from my youth, but it didn't turn out what I thought it would be then. Because my lightning bolt came when I was about 10 years old, and I kind of misunderstood the answer to my own prayer. I had prayed, God, what do you want me to do with my life? Tell me on Sunday. Uh, you can be very specific when you're 10. Why not? And that Sunday, the priest preached on his vocation to the priesthood. And it was literally like I was struck by lightning. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be a priest. I don't want to be a priest. But I spent the next, I don't know, the next 11 years or so believing that that was my vocation, but that I was trying to not be it by any means possible. And so I felt like I was in this little battle, internal battle, that somehow I had a vocation to the priesthood and I was denying it. But somehow I came to terms with it and decided, no, I have a different path in this life. I'm not going to be a priest. And it took me till I was in my mid 50s to stop feeling guilty that I didn't become a priest. When our mutual friend Christy Cooper said, "Gil, you've been fulfilling your vocation as a priest since you were 10."
Yeah.
And I was moved to my core when she said that, because it relieved me of a deep sense of disingenuity in my life, like I had been, posing or fraudulently serving the world by some alternative method. And then I came to realize, oh no, that was the method, and that I do have some kind of service vocation, much as did our pastor of our community the way back when, 50 years ago. But now I kind of embraced my the priesthood as a layperson, serving in places where priests dare not tread, of the normal variety.
I can remember coming home to my parents, and my dad was Jewish, and I announced that I wanted to be a nun at the dinner table. Now, where did that come from? It came from seeing the flying nun on TV, and I
Oh,
wanted to fly,
who
and
wouldn't?
I wanted the hat,
Yeah, the hat, wasn't that a
you
great
know?
Sally Fields with a 4 foot wide hat? Fine. That was so
You
awesome.
know,
Yeah.
I do feel that, as children, we come in with this deep sense of spirituality and connection. When that goes away, I think it's different for everyone. And I think what I love so much about when you teach us to stand and look at the gift of the body, the donor, with such reverence. I do feel that you're holding that priesthood space. You're allowing the people that are with you to come to their own relationship with what's in front of them, which I've always believed any good spiritual leader allows everyone to come face to face with their God, goddess, all that is, and develop that relationship in their own way.
Yeah,
And
and
you
to
do
me,
that, I
yeah.
think, so beautifully.
Thank you. That's standing before the table with that human form, deceased and maybe a little scary. To me, it's like it's a funhouse mirror potentially. In other words, it's a mirror. It's a little distorted. It's a little weird, right? And at the same time, which one of us is not a little distorted and a little weird? And so it works out fine. And it's like if you can come to have kind of a reverence for the gift on the table, if you can come to be in awe at that work of wonder, at the nature. To me, it's the word. You If you can't come to the edge of the Grand Canyon and be in awe, I don't know what's going to do it for you. And to me, what could be more of a precipice than standing before a cadaver with a group of some strangers, some familiar maybe, and yet all a little intimidated by the prospect. And if you've ever stood in front of the Grand Canyon, it is an intimidating prospect. I
Right.
I've been there a couple of times, and I'm like, people fall off of this thing. I better
Yeah,
back up a couple steps. And it's
back
very
away.
much, yeah, it's back away, and it's very much like that in the lab, where you kind of you take a step back and in awe, wonder, and terror a little bit too, and then if all this world is a mirror, and that fat form of nature, that Grand Canyon of a cadaver in front of you, can be seen as a mirror, and you can see yourself in there like in any mirror, and maybe have some of that awe reflected for yourself or for the people standing next to you, then the debt can lead us into a kind of reverence for the living that may have been missed prior to the opportunity. And I do find that when we enter that kind of field of reverence for ourselves and others, well, you just relate to each other differently.
Yeah.
There's a chance to appreciate and respect and enjoy one another in a way that's very confronting in its intimacy. It's like, oh gosh, we can't just really hang around here and pretend that we don't all have a liver, uh, yeah, and then we can go on our merry way. No, we can go in there and say, wow, you're an amazing creature, and you're breathing, and your eyes are shining, and you're standing next to me, and I feel that it creates a space for connection that's so sorely needed in a culture that's forever being divided.
Having taken people to the mirror in their alive body and invited them to just look and appreciate and seeing the weeping and, also seeing the resistance, uh, emotional anger, an inability to look or sustain eye contact with one's alive body. I was amazed at my perception has been in the room that the seduction of the body in front of us that we may perceive as lifeless, it has so much life exuding and personality and stories to tell. And that for me, it's almost impossible to look away. I don't want to look away, and I want to look more deeply. And I have had that experience with you of walking out after a lab session and then going to the mall and just sitting and watching bodies and feeling such reverence for each one, but at the same time, looking and feeling sadness for how some of those bodies have been treated, and then fighting with my judgment around that
Mm,
or my anger around that. Why are they doing that? Why did they do that?
mm.
Life in a body and the journey in a body, it's not easy.
No, and I have had done similar meditations to come on the other side of that judgment and say, my goodness, if we all lined up on the other side before we came here, and we had three options or whatever, and one was some Rolls Royce fancy body that is just, everyone's going to turn their head and look at it. One's sort of in the middle and no one's going to notice you. And one is just sort of devastating, a body that really is a complicated affair, and then I thought about the incredible courage it would take to learn your lessons through a challenging body. And 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 don't think from your high horse that you would do better with that set of genes and circumstances. Uh, it's not necessarily so. You might have killed off that body way earlier than that person walking by on the sidewalk where you're judging. It might be quite an accomplishment on their soul's journey to have dwelt there and face those challenges for themselves. And then there's the people with their invisible challenges, right? So you see someone who's smoking hot, but you don't know they've got migraines and cluster headaches, and they have unwanted advances on a daily basis from people who think they want a piece of that or whatever. Like, in other words, there's we didn't come here to judge is the thing, and we do it so readily. But it is what you describe as such a worthy contemplation to just sit there and admire the challenging bodies, the ones who can barely move through space. Like, what must that be like? It's
Yeah.
hard. What a
Yeah.
blessing it is to move. You start to appreciate the simplest thing.
As a sensation scientist, I will put myself in the experience so that I can know what it feels like.
Mm.
And, I have taken, as long as 8 months and not moved, and told
What?
myself, "You cannot move for 8 months, you're not gonna move. Not gonna go for a walk, you're not gonna move." And lethargy, feeling lethargic kicks in so fast.
Mm.
Sitting becomes so luscious. Uh, the desire to wanna bend down and pick something off the floor is like, "I'll get it later." It's just amazing what the lack of movement does to the psyche
Mm.
and to the physical form, and but I will say that I've also been very surprised that when I go back, that first class back taking Nia, I always think, "Oh gosh, I'm gonna be sore," and I'm not. Not only am I not sore, but it was like riding a bicycle. My body got right back on. And, I think that is due to the fact of the diverse, movement arts that are in Nia, again, to address what you've taught me also to see. There are no 2 bodies alike.
Mm.
Variety that's what it's all about, so it makes sense to have, a variety. How do you continue to weave into your work philosophy, love, relationship, children, business, and your passion for dissection? How do you weave that all together? Is
My creator must have woven that together because I don't have to try to do that. That particular weave is the weave that I am in this lifetime, and so that kind of comes naturally to me. It would be more the challenge more for me would be how could you ever exclude your love from your work? Or how could you exclude your friendships from your business? Or how could you, like, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Now I know that it's anathema in so many things. You're supposed to be objective and stand over here while this happens over there. I just can't do it. It's it's more of a conviction that you stated. Like, I'm convicted in my incapacity to separate those aspects of myself and still show up whole. Like I always tell people, don't check your personality at the door for this class. I want all of you here because your intellect, for instance, is going to fill up and break in about 2 days. And so then what do we do if we've got several more days to go? And we're going to have to start tapping into your sensory capacities. We're going to start tapping into your hands. We're going to tap into your heart. We're going to see if we can break down the shells around your mind rather than building new ones for you. So yeah, to me, it all goes together in the endeavor of integral anatomy. It's not really even about the whole body, it's about the whole person, and how can we invite the whole person to show up, because we've so chopped ourselves up into different compartments that we can barely experience anything in a full way. So something like that.
It's real apparent on the first day, of meeting you in the group circle that you do bring that whole person, and I think that for me, that was what was calming,
Mm,
you know? Um, it was warm, inviting, and intimate, and I felt like I was meeting you, the person, not the intellect, but the intellect was there, but you were you, the touchable you, was out in front, which I loved. Was there a moment where you said to yourself, "I'm really good at this"?
no, there's was more a moment where I was like, "What the heck am I doing here? I can't do this anymore. This is terrifying for me." Like, and I had to face that fear. It was, yeah, opposite. Not I'm really good at this. It was more like, "What am I doing here? Who the heck Why would anyone do this?" This is 3 or 4 years into my career, and I had this massive, overwhelming dread of going to my own class that I had scheduled, and and I went to, I had these medicine cards. I don't know if you've ever seen them. You can get them
Uh-huh.
at your New Age bookstore or whatever, and I had picked up a copy of them when I was training as a rolfer in Boulder, where they have such stores, and so I was like, "I'll ask the cards," and I went to the cards and shuffled and pulled one card, and it was the bat. And the bat is like this shaman card, who goes into the cave and dies basically, and faces death, or goes and leads others into the what are the crematory grounds or something, and in order to face death, so that you might live more fully. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." That's so that's so what I do. And and I was like, and it didn't say it was easy. It's a hard medicine to carry, and yet I couldn't deny, like, wow, the universe just nailed me right there. Like, that is the medicine, and how can because that's what I'm doing, right? I'm literally going into these cave laboratories and turning on the lights and bringing people in there terrified and having them leave transformed and in love with each other. So, I couldn't deny it. I was like, all right, I'll keep going with that. So not when I realized I was good, but when I realized I was in the right place. Again, back to that early vocation question, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I think I have a rare combination of gifts to endure this particular medicine in service, and it's only for service that anyone would ever do this. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I have all of the ingredients in my makeup to be a very meticulous artist, right? So I have a sense of artistry, but I don't have it so badly that I can't show something half baked if I know it'll help somebody. Right. So I'm not the kind of person who will never let anyone see my art until it's perfect. I'm constantly filming it half done so that people can see and witness the process and engage in that. And also not be a perfectionist, because there's no perfectionists don't get too much done. I,
Well, and the developmental process, that each stage of perceived completion is a foundation for the next,
Mm,
right?
very much.
And what I love is watching your excitement and passion after so many years. There isn't ever an ounce of, "Oh, we're doing this again. Oh, I've got a class again. I don't wanna be here." Your excitement and passion for how many bodies you have been privileged, to receive and to work with, to learn
I think
and
that's
grow
very
from.
much, yeah, much a function of the folks who show up, who bring that out of me. The class channels guilt,
Ugh.
and I show up for it. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I could say that each class I've been to, they can take on different personalities, and yet at the end, you're absolutely right. Everybody walks away loving each other and loving the experience. And very quickly, I would say the fear bubble gets burst, if not within that first day. And then the level of curiosity and excitement and the understanding of the gift, and that we took the gift, that we said, "I want it." "I want to know." And then the universe says, "Okay, here's this class, you can go do this." And, what have you discovered about identity, having worked with such variety? And particularly nowadays, it feels to me that identity is something people wanna hang on to. "I am this,"
Mm,
right?
that's such a interesting, huge, fun thing. And well, I've always said from the very beginning that this whole my whole thing, everything that I'm doing is driven by two questions: who am I and what is my body? And they play off of each other, those questions. And the who am I part is very much an identity question, right? It gets to the
Mhm.
heart of an identity question. And for some, maybe at this point, because I feel like the answer to that question changes as you live. Now, as you're a child, you're like, oh, I'm Gil and Kathy's son. If you were, depending upon the environment, there people say, who is this little boy running around? Well, I'm their kid, and that's your identity for a while. Or I'm her brother. I'm her little brother. Right. And then you move out of that, and then you're, oh, I'm Mike's friend. I'm Chip's buddy, and you have this different, as the relationships change, your identity changes. And then maybe you come to know something and you're like, oh yeah, I'm the weightlifter, I'm the Tai Chi guy. I'm the dad or the spouse or the what have you. And you can't live a life without cycling through a whole collection of identities. And yet somehow all along the way you've said I am. Right? You can't not say I am. It's undeniable.
I
And
am, therefore I am. Uh-huh.
exactly, it's the irreducible identity, and all the other ones don't last. And so I marvel and don't quite understand, to be honest, the devotion to the passing identities, having witnessed so many of them pass in my own life.
Mhm.
I get tired of them. I don't want to be the Tai Chi guy anymore. I don't want to be daddy. I'd rather be friends with my children now. I'm tired of being daddy. I did that. It was awesome. I loved being daddy. They call me mommy sometimes. I was around a lot, but but they straightened it out eventually. Um, but the thing is, for me, I'm more interested in the essential identity than the passing identities. And for instance, I'll never forget being in the lab with a large group. And it was that first year that you took the class in 2014, but it was in New Jersey. I repeated that unbelievable process one more time that year in New Jersey and had a large group. And we had a variety of forms. One was maybe two of them, one or two of them were black or African American. Call them how you like. Call us how you like. I don't care. Uh, but the faintest of layer had peeled away on this body even before we
Right.
dissected it, and I had seen this before, but I couldn't help but share in the stunned witness that the whole group bore to the unbelievably ephemeral character of the outer layer of cells that slough off it, like and leave us all the same underneath, basically.
Mhm.
We're all the same underneath. That's not to say there aren't ancestral impacts and cultural forms. It's not all about skin, but it did cause everyone in that room to pause and say, "What are we fighting about here?"
Well, it blew my mind.
Mm,
I had the perception that an African American would have another thicker layer that I don't have, and I was ashamed, actually, when
mm.
I sloughed that first layer off that I had thought that, and then I got a little angry. How come this education is not given to me? Right? How come we're not told that we and shown how alike we are? What is this, some kind of secret knowledge? And it really, really upset me.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we have a deep cultural thing, in our country about color. And when I really look at color, it's an incredible rainbow of colors that show up in the lab. Like,
yeah.
there's two tones that are ever the same. And I look at myself and I'm like, if you were an artist, you couldn't really paint me without laying down some green first. I have that Mediterranean skin. In the summertime, I'm very olivey, and you'd have to paint me green. And I'm like, okay, am I a white guy or am I a green guy? Or you look at
Yeah,
someone,
my husband, it would be like, "Let's just leave the canvas white."
yeah,
Yeah,
or
and
red.
I'm freckly. I'm very freckly. My sister has more orange. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there, it's so, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is really a strange reduction, a strange binary we have in our culture, where where this incredible range of tones gets reduced to you know a a a race designation or another race designation. I'm like, no, we're as varied in our personalities, we're as varied in our tech major shapes, we're as varied in our skin tones as we are in anything else. The shape of your breasts, can you find two that are alike? The shape of an elbow, the shape of a thumb. Look at 100 thumbs and see if you can find two that are exactly the same. You will not.
No.
So it's that. So just the identity thing where we started this,
Uh-huh.
to my mind, it's like the challenge is to witness the individual, not to conclude to an identity for ourselves or for another. So if I look at another in the face, right, I'm seeing a mirror, but not a mirror of some identity, a mirror of individuality. Can you imagine each other, us? Can you imagine us all as mirrors for our absolute uniqueness?
Rather
So
be
when
fit, yeah.
right, so when I look at you, I can be like, "Whoa, so one of a kind that you mirror my one of a kindness,"
Mhm.
rather than, "Oh, there's another person of a type that I identify with." That's a very left brain thing to do.
Mhm.
And so for me, the identity thing that's a very rich conversation is also identifiably a function of our left brain style of perceiving the world. And it's our right brain that witnesses and can bear witness because of its structure, function, and millions of years of development. It's our right brain that can witness to the individual, and that will never reduce the individual to a type, put it in a box, and then
Would
know
you
something.
consider that more of a feminine quality versus a masculine quality
Mm,
to not type something?
I don't. I wouldn't fit it. I wouldn't fit it in that way. I know plenty of very feminine people who are also extremely reductive of
Mhm,
others.
mhm,
And so I don't know if I could cast it that way. I think
mhm.
that um I don't know. I don't know about that. I think there's this important capacity that we have to perceive types of things. That's a survival
Right.
thing that's super important. Imagine sorting food as a hunter gatherer.
Yeah.
Like you want to know which mushroom you're putting in the soup because it can either kill you or it can freak you out. So we want to be able to have that typing capacity, but we just don't want to turn it on one another. It's
Yeah,
for,
the recognition.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
to be
for
able
things,
to
not in people.
recognize.
Yeah, I think it's important for things, not people,
Yeah,
because in our age, in our present age, I think it's time that we exercise our right brain's capacity to witness the new, to become interested and curious about the unique. That's how we'll get ourselves out of the current dangers, you know, I think, because it is a dangerous world when the left brain's typing and sorting capacity turned upon one another
mhm,
results in a great um, splitting when we instead have an opportunity for joining rather than
for
splitting.
joining. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's yeah. I want to unite.
right, please, right. You, I think you've what, been divorced once? Yep,
uh,
so you
Once
had a fam
officially, yeah,
or eventually.
one official divorce.
So how
The
has
unofficial marriage eventually ended.
yeah, so, one of the things when we talk about you were talking about identity, I loved how with each moment that I approached a table, I was very well aware that the identity of what I was seeing was different. It was changing second to second based on
Mm,
what was happening, on the table. And I remember thinking, God, I wish I could look at my partner with new eyes like that all the time. Just like eyes wide open, like, what's there?
mm.
What's there? Right. And
That does a lot for the other person too. Like
absolutely,
when you
absolutely.
witnessed in your best socks or whatever.
And, you talk about an estate change and how helpful that is, right?
Mm,
Um, and having been married 3 times, divorced twice, I understand that in terms of making a big change. Um, with each one of those changes, I have felt the perception of who I was and my identity become transformed.
mm,
I'm going to use these words more elevated, more expanded.
mm,
Did I do that consciously? Did I set no, but it was almost like a spiritual benefit of having the courage just to say, this isn't working. I'm not quite sure what working means anymore,
Yeah.
but I know there's something else.
Mm.
What was it, uh, for you that where you said, "This is a big step, but I think I need to do it." Was there something
Mm. You know,
about yourself, about your soul, your spirit?
yeah, there was, I think that, and this probably happens to a lot of couples, if say one person is involved in some process that the other partner isn't involved in,
Oh,
uh, like my class, right? Which has proved transformative for me as well as the people who take it.
mhm,
And so do that for 17 years and then find myself not matching my partner anymore
mhm.
and not having not really being didn't feel like I was a match, and nothing could have been more devastating to my identity, to be honest, because I reveled in my husband role,
Mhm.
reveled in my daddy role, and you know I look back at that period of time, and it's not like which comes first. It's a little chicken or egg thing, right? In other words, did you get divorced so you could reveal a new identity, or did you develop a new identity and so you couldn't match anymore? I think it was more of that. At least that's how it felt to me. Uh, and and it was a excruciating separation. It's just so painful, and it wasn't until I got divorced that I had incredible respect for people who got divorced. I was like, because people, they'll do the blame game and say, oh, she cheated, he cheated, whatever, they were unfaithful, this happened, that happened, or he moved on, or she moved on, whatever. Um, it still takes a lot of people do that and never leave. In other words, you move on and live separate lives in the same house, or you pretend, or you take it to your grave, or you just get cancer and die, which is another strategy. In other words, till death do us part. All right, I'm out of here, and do that. I I don't know if you can see me now. I'm sort of a normal shaped person, right?
Yeah.
In terms of just whatever stamped out of the human mold. When I got divorced, I weighed 50 pounds less than I do now.
Yes, I remember seeing you.
Did you witness that skinny
Yeah.
man? And I was literally knocking on death's door intentionally at some level of my person, because I really believe till death do us part. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get as close as I can to death, and then I'm going to part. Did I do his part? I'm not proud of that at all. I'm just saying, like, this is the level of development I had at the time, and like couldn't figure out how else to do it. Because
It's such a visceral experience, um, divorce. It's you definitely, brain, right, emotion, but it's visceral, and I know for me, the the difference between the first time when somebody said, "Oh, I just got divorced," and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." My level of heart with that, "I'm so sorry," and then after getting divorced and somebody saying that to me and me going up and putting my hands, there was like this the universe and me showed up with such understanding of what that takes, what that means, and like you said, get rid of the blame game and the shame game. The experience of cutting that, of dissecting that, of separating that part of yourself is excruciating.
it is excruciating, and simultaneously knowing that is brutal for the partner
Of course,
as
yeah.
well. And then I'm happy to say that my ex-wife comes over for, I like to call her my first wife now. Ex seems so dismissive. So my first wife will come and join us at Christmas. Last 2 years, it's been great. She came to the Nerf tour. It's wonderful. It took a long time for us to feel that level of comfort with each other again after that excruciatingly painful distancing. Um, and I can't I can't say I'd want to do it again, but I can't say I I did the it was the wrong thing. No, I feel like it was a strange contract that we signed with each other on the
Yeah.
other side, that we're going to have these children together and we're going to do that thing together, and then other things are going to happen and it's going to hurt, but it's going to be all right. I think that's kind of how it was.
Those stepping stones, oh, it should be priesthood. Oh, not that. Oh, it should be Rolfing. Oh, okay, not that. Oh, it should be this family unit forever and ever and ever. Oh, not that, right? Um,
Yeah, it's
it cultivates for me a certain reverence for my body and the lived experience that I have no control over. That I think I do have control over, b but I don't, as much as I want to and as much as I think I do. There's that something that is out of my control that I have great reverence for.
mm, reverence for the ride. It's it's like it's a ride.
It's yeah, and, without a saddle, right?
It's bareback.
Yeah. Um, is there a place that you like to hang out the most? Now, personally, is there a place you love to hang out the most in your body?
In my body. That's an
Yeah.
interesting
Like,
question.
I love to hang out with my hands.
Mm,
I love to hang out with my hands. My friend, she loves to hang out, um, with her second chakra a lot, right? So, I have other friends that it's like they hang out, everything is about heart.
mm. Well, if I'm honest, if I'm really honest, I hang out a lot in my head.
In your head, okay.
Yeah, just because it is an interesting place to be. it's,
It's
it's,
exciting.
it's a fairly interesting place, this head of mine. And but that being said, um, I I look to my heart
Yeah.
and I respect it. And when I'm there, I know a kind of richness that I never experienced in my head.
Mhm.
So there's that. Um, and I'm not absolutely consistent in answering that question because I know there are other places where I spent 3 years with so much sensation in my hands, my feet, my spinal column, and my occiput
Oh, wow. Okay.
that I didn't know what to do with myself. And you knew me during that time. I just kept it quiet. Sometimes I had to put my hands on somebody or put my feet on somebody
Uh-huh.
and hope that maybe they could soak up some of whatever the universe was offering me
Wow.
in this ecstatic sensory experience that I had. And it came and went. It was a thing that came and went. I think it lasted about 3.5 years, and it didn't matter what else was going on. I could have a migraine headache or a cluster headache on top of it. Uh, and this is where all my poetry about pain and pleasure happened simultaneously came from, was trying to somehow describe that and saying, yeah, if you wait for the pain to be gone to feel your pleasure, you're going to miss heaven on earth because they come on in this plane, they come at the same time in a weirdest way. I don't have that. That went away. I think I uh,
You talk about
frittered it away in wasted anger over the divorce. Blaming and anger and all that kind of stuff. And it's always yourself that you're angry and should be angry and blaming at the most part. And if you could forgive yourself, it's so much easier to forgive others.
it's interesting, I heard somebody the other day say that we don't have memory. We just have information that we turn into a story to validate the reality we're living. And I went, "Ah, that makes a lot of sense." So it's, um, somehow writing a story that we can feel okay about who we are and okay about our decisions.
Mm.
"Oh, we did this because," the word "because." What if we get rid of "because," right?
Yeah, just I did that and I own that. That then you get into self mastery and responsibility, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Responsibility is like a dirty word in our culture. It means blameworthy rather than powerful. Responsible should mean powerful, having agency, free to act and to change actions according to your ability. But instead, we've made it the opposite of powerful. We've turned it into blameworthiness and deserving of censure. How you're responsible for that, and that's how we accuse and blame and judge, and consequently distance ourselves, make ourselves victims, and place agency outside of ourselves, and with an imagined sense of innocence, live out that victim consciousness
yeah.
rather than claiming responsibility. Yeah, that was me. That was my choice. That was my set of choices that created that circumstance, that impossible situation that I thought I was trapped in, or what have you. And it's like, nah, it was me. It's okay. We've all made bad choices. Yeah.
And it's a collaboration, right?
Mm,
It's a connection. You talk about, meeting the tissue versus forcing, and that those words when you said that and I had the scalpel in my hand and I was sawing away like crazy, and I backed up. I went, "Okay, what does it mean to meet?" Right? And I just paused and laid the scalpel on the tissue, and I could think, "Oh, that tissue's dead, it won't respond," right? "There's no life in it." Well, that's not true, and, I walked away that day and said to myself, "Can I meet every person? Can I meet every experience? Can I meet every situation, whether I wanna resist it or move towards it? Can I meet with that kind of gentleness, receptivity versus, force?"
mm.
And, I'm working on it. I'm working
Aren't
on
we
it.
all? Aren't we all? As you speak, I'm remembering my Tai Chi days when we played push hands. And the style of push hands that we did in our class was very oriented towards learning rather than winning, which
Yeah.
I valued a lot. And how can we, you know, come into connection with another human being and move with them, uh, which had to involve both going forward and pulling back.
Mhm,
You had
mhm.
to you had to do both. You couldn't you can't just go forward and expect to remain connected, and you can't just recede and expect to remain connected. You have to do both. You have to advance and recede and advance and recede while maintaining a relationship, and learning to notice when you're not part of the relationship when you've dropped out because you're not paying attention. You saw something distracting and your connection was lost, or it takes a lot of focus to stay with someone in movement, as you know, as a
Yeah.
quadruple black belt, what have you, in your art. And
Well, I was kicked out of ballroom dancing because I wouldn't follow. I like to lead. Let me
you
lead.
learn, don't you learn a lot about your personality when you
God,
play that kind of a game, right?
totally. And that's what I love about, Aikido. It was like, um, it goes back to identity and me asking a question, "Do you think that's more feminine or more masculine?" It doesn't matter on the mat. It's raw, pure energy. It
Mm,
doesn't matter what size, it doesn't matter age, it
mm.
doesn't matter gender, none of that, it goes out the door. You are meeting life force energy, and, that's why it's such I think, a challenging martial art
Oh, yeah.
to even get close to thinking that you're mastering. It's a technique that's always changing. It's always that scalpel meeting the moment, right?
Mm, mhm.
Um, well, I can't tell you what a joy it is for me to spend this time with you, for you to spend this time with me, to give of your wisdom, your life force, your personhood with me and with the listeners. I always ask everybody to share a fact, and yours was I used to consider my body something of punishment. Now I'm grateful for it.
Mm.
And you have certainly taught me to be grateful and I'm thrilled, really, really thrilled. And how can people find you if they're interested in taking, your course or going to the lab?
Well, if you can remember my name and spell it kind of close, doesn't even have to be exact. Google will give you me. So there's not a whole lot of Gil Hedleys out there. So um, one L Gil Hedley with no A's. So Hedley, gilhedley.com is the place where you can find me. And there's tons of free stuff on my site or on YouTube. If you don't have any money, you can still learn with me. I am a believer in the democratizing and the spreading of knowledge of the human body for all. And so I have a YouTube channel, Somanaut. You can just type Gil Anatomy and get me on YouTube. There's over 100 videos there. And then I don't know, I think there's probably over 20 hours of visual content in my free membership at gilhedley.com. And then I have a paid membership for those who really want to take the deep dive but can't make it to the lab. So that's kind of how you'll find me.
And I'm telling everybody it is worth your time, first of all, and it's certainly
Finance is a
worth
big
the
commitment, right?
financial investment.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know you've got the Fascial Voice coming up on March 8th.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um, y
Saturday, huh?
yeah, I love how you have these special guests, that's just such a great thing. I try to
Well, in
drop
that
in.
case, I'm the special guest for my wonderful friend, Jan Choartha, who runs the Fascia Hub in the UK. And so she invited me to do that. And
Oh,
if Jan
fantastic.
invites me to do something, I do it because it puts me on the spot to bring something forward. And I really appreciate her and that. So yeah, fasciahub.com for this Saturday's event with Jan on the fascial voice. We're going to explore the throat area, but I'll do the anatomy part, but the other wonderful presenters will kind of bring you into it experientially as a way to kind of access and transform your own use of your voice.
Beautiful. And boy, don't we need everybody's voice now to just speak from the heart so that we can
Yes.
be kinder, so that we as human beings, as scalpels that penetrate the space, penetrate people's minds, cut into the world that we're a part of, that we can do it by meeting each other,
Mm.
by just pausing a little bit, being a little bit softer, and recognizing the beauty and the unique human spirit that is in our presence. And just to respect that, wouldn't that be fantastic? Beautiful. Well, thank you everybody so much for listening. You can find me on debbierosas.com. That's my magazine where you have access to tons of free articles and educational information about body and life. You can find me on Facebook by searching Nia, or also on Twitter and Instagram at Nia Technique. Thanks again. And remember, this is our time to get in and stay in and stay connected to our bodies and to each other. And I'll see you next time.